Let's see if this sounds familiar at all to you. Your alarm goes off, you hit it, and well, instead of feeling rested, your body just feels like it's made of lead.
Oh yeah, that heavy feeling right in your bones.
Right. So you drag yourself into the kitchen, you pour that massive, beautiful first cup of coffee, and as that first sip hits your system, it's like the fog just lifts.
You feel invincible.
Exactly. You're sharp, you're focused, you are like totally ready to conquer the day for roughly 60 minutes.
Yep, the honeymoon phase.
Because by, 10:30 a.m., you hit this wall of brain fog that's so thick you find yourself just staring at your inbox, completely unable to remember what you were even about to type.
It's just like this incredibly frustrating cycle, right?
Right.
And it's entirely universal. I mean, you start your morning aggressively trying to get ahead of the curve, and by mid-morning, you just find yourself burning resources, just fighting to maintain a basic level of functioning.
Which is the exact reason we are doing this deep dive today. We are looking at a personal account and wellness guide. It's titled Moringa Magic, the morning ritual that replaced my coffee and energy drinks.
Which is a bold claim.
Very bold. When I first saw that title, I'll admit my immediate reaction was skepticism. Because we've all seen a million morning routines promising like endless productivity.
Right, the whole wake up at 4 a.m. and take an ice bath thing.
Exactly. But the mission of our deep dive today is to explore a pretty massive paradigm shift that's presented in this text. Like, what if the cure for that daily bone-deep fatigue isn't finding a stronger stimulant? What if our bodies are actually crying out for a fundamental change in, well, the underlying biology of how we fuel them?
Yeah, and the author of our source material, they reached a breaking point with their own exhaustion and started asking those exact questions. They realized they were continually forcing their central nervous system into this state of high alert rather than, providing it with the structural support it actually needed to generate energy organically.
Let's actually look at the daily crash cycle they outlined in the text. Because honestly, reading it felt like someone was like observing my own life.
It hits very close to home.
It really does. So let's break down the timeline. At 7 Adoro a.m., you have your coffee, you get that artificial burst of alertness.
Right.
Then around 10:30 a.m., the decline begins. Your focus gets a little shaky. By 1:00 p.m., you hit desperation mode, so you grab that emergency afternoon iced coffee or maybe like a neon-colored energy drink.
We've all been there.
Right. And then 3:30 p.m. rolls around, and the dreaded second crash hits, bringing this really heavy wave of mental fatigue. And then comes the absolute cruelest part of the whole cycle.
The evening.
The evening. You get into bed, and you are wired but tired.
It's the worst feeling.
It is. You can't fully transition into deep sleep because the caffeine is still lingering in your bloodstream. You sleep poorly, and the cycle just, starts all over again the next day.
To understand why that specific timeline happens, we really have to look at the underlying biochemical mechanics of it all. The source delves into the science of caffeine, and the most crucial takeaway here is that caffeine does not create energy.
Wait, it doesn't?
No, it doesn't add anything to your body's energy reserves at all. Instead, it basically runs an interference pattern in your brain.
Oh, right. It blocks the tiredness signal.
Exactly. It blocks a specific neurotransmitter called adenosine. So think of adenosine like sand filling up the bottom of an hourglass.
Okay, I'm picturing an hourglass.
From the moment you wake up, that sand starts accumulating in your brain. The more sand there is, the more pressure you feel to go to sleep. So when you drink that 7 a.m. coffee, the caffeine molecules essentially act like a cork, plugging up the narrow part of the hourglass.
So the sand stops.
No, that's the thing. The sand, the adenosine, is still accumulating right above the cork. Your brain is still producing it. You just aren't consciously feeling the pressure of it.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy. Relying on caffeine in this way is basically like putting your body's energy on a high-interest credit card.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Because you aren't actually getting richer. You aren't generating new wealth, or in this case, new cellular energy. You are just borrowing alertness from later in the afternoon.
Yep.
And eventually, that caffeine cork dissolves, the bill comes due, and it arrives in the form of a massive, unavoidable crash because all that pent-up adenosine just floods your brain's receptors all at once.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. And the interest, that you're paying on that biological debt, it takes the form of poor sleep quality, physical jitteriness, and elevated cortisol.
Which explains the wired but tired thing.
Exactly. Because when you drink coffee, you're also triggering a minor fight or flight response. Your adrenal glands release adrenaline and cortisol.
Mm.
So when evening comes, your brain might finally be exhausted from the adenosine, but your nervous system is still dealing with these residual stress hormones. That is the exact recipe for feeling wired but tired.
Okay, so if caffeine is just this temporary mask, like this credit card we keep maxing out, why is our baseline energy so low to begin with? I mean, I eat meals, I consume calories. If I'm taking in enough calories, shouldn't my body have plenty of energy to get through a 3:30 p.m. meeting without me needing to borrow against my future self?
Well, that brings us to the root cause identified in the text, which is the modern nutrition gap.
Hmm.
We tend to confuse caloric intake with cellular fuel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you can consume plenty of calories, but if those calories lack specific micronutrients, your body just cannot efficiently convert them into usable energy.
So we're basically dropping off like building supplies at a construction site, but we haven't hired any workers to actually put the building together.
That's a great way to put it. Let's actually take it down to the cellular level. Think of your cells as little factories, specifically the mitochondria.
The powerhouse of the cell, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Middle school biology coming back. Their job is to take the raw materials from your food, like glucose, and run them through an assembly line to produce a molecule called ATP.
Okay, ATP.
ATP is the actual fundamental currency of energy in your body,
Hmm.
is what makes your muscles move and your brain fire. But that mitochondrial assembly line requires specific tools to keep the conveyor belt moving. It needs things like magnesium, iron, and a whole spectrum of B vitamins.
And if those specific tools are missing?
The assembly line grinds to a halt.
Hmm.
I mean, you can have all the glucose in the world from a, mid-morning pastry, but without the micronutrients to facilitate the conversion, your ATP production just plummets. You feel sluggish.
Which makes sense.
Right. The source text points out that most adults aren't deliberately starving themselves of nutrients. We just get busy. Breakfast becomes a piece of toast, or we skip it entirely. Over time, these quiet, compounding nutritional gaps develop. Your cellular machinery has to work incredibly hard just to maintain a baseline level of functioning.
Man, if our biological assembly lines are constantly breaking down because they lack the right tools, it totally makes sense that people are desperately wandering the supplement aisles looking for a fix.
Oh, absolutely.
And usually that search leads people to one of two camps, right? Stimulants or adaptogens. We already know stimulants shock the nervous system, but adaptogens are like everywhere right now. Everyone is talking about them.
They are incredibly popular, and they operate on a completely different pathway than stimulants. Adaptogens are traditionally used herbs, things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, holy basil, and eleuthero.
I've definitely seen those in the health food stores.
Right. So rather than spiking adrenaline, adaptogens work primarily by interacting with the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis.
That's a mouthful.
It really is. But basically, this is your body's central stress response system.
How does interacting with that stress system actually give you energy, though?
Well, when you are chronically stressed, which, let's be honest, most of us are, your HPA axis is constantly pumping out cortisol. Over time, this exhausts your system and causes fatigue. Adaptogens essentially act like a thermostat for your stress hormones.
Oh, like auto-regulating it.
Exactly. If your cortisol is too high, they help lower it. If it's too low, they help bring it up to a baseline. By regulating that stress response and keeping the thermostat steady, they help the body build resilience over time, resulting in a smoother, more sustained feeling of vitality rather than a jagged spike.
Okay, so considering this entire text is dedicated to moringa, I'm assuming moringa is like the absolute king of adaptogens. It's hacking our HPA axis to give us this smooth morning energy.
See, that is a very common assumption.
Yeah.
But the author makes a crucial distinction here. Moringa is generally not classified as an adaptogen.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
With all the wellness hype surrounding moringa, it isn't in the same category as ashwagandha or rhodiola.
It's not.
No.
It does not primarily work by modifying your stress hormones or tinkering with the HPA axis. The way moringa works is actually much simpler and arguably much more foundational.
Okay.
Works through sheer, overwhelming nutrient density. Is providing a massive payload of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and plant compounds directly to your digestive system.
I'm looking at the nutritional profile listed in the source, and it is kind of wild.
It's backed.
Yeah. We are talking about high concentrations of vitamins A, C, and E. We're talking calcium, potassium, iron, magnesium, plant-based protein, and like a dense array of polyphenols.
It really is a powerhouse.
But my immediate question as a skeptic is, if it's just delivering vitamins, how does that wake you up? Like, why not just take a cheap drugstore multivitamin and call it a day?
That's a great question, and it comes down to a concept called bioavailability.
Bioavailability.
Right. When you take an isolated synthetic vitamin that was made in a lab, your body often really struggles to recognize and absorb it efficiently. A significant portion of it just gets, frankly, flushed out of your system.
You're just making expensive pee.
Basically, yes.
Right.
Moringa, on the other hand, is a whole food plant matrix. The iron and magnesium in moringa leaves are bundled together with natural cofactors, enzymes, and polyphenols that act as delivery mechanisms.
So the body actually recognizes it as real food and absorbs it.
Precisely. And when we look back at our cellular factory analogy, the mitochondria, what are the specific tools that assembly line needs to produce ATP?
You mentioned magnesium and iron earlier.
Exactly. It heavily relies on iron to transport oxygen and magnesium to synthesize the ATP molecules. By flooding the system with these highly bioavailable nutrients first thing in the morning, Moringa is essentially rushing a team of highly skilled mechanics straight to your cellular assembly line.
Wow.
Your baseline energy naturally stabilizes because you are finally giving the engine the exact fuel it has been starved for.
Okay, if the biology of this plant is so perfectly tuned for human energy production, why isn't this something we just buy in the produce aisle? Why aren't we all tossing handfuls of fresh moringa leaves into a pan with our eggs every morning?
Well, the author is refreshingly pragmatic about this, highlighting what we can call the practicality problem.
I figured there was a catch.
Right. Fresh moringa leaves are a logistical nightmare for the average busy professional. First, they are incredibly difficult to source in a standard Western grocery store. Second, once you do find them, they spoil very rapidly.
Yeah, the source material notes that the preparation time alone pretty much kills the habit. I mean, think about a chaotic Tuesday morning. You are trying to get out the door, you're already 10 minutes late, and you are supposed to stand at the counter washing, de-stemming, and cooking fresh leaves.
It's just not going to happen.
It's really not.
And if a wellness habit cannot be executed consistently, it is virtually useless. I mean, sporadic nutrition does not fix chronic fatigue.
Which brings us to how the author actually solved this friction. They pivoted to a specific supplement product called Moringa Magic. Now, we need to maintain some objective distance here. The author is, advocating for this specific brand because it worked for them, bypassing the entire hassle of sourcing and prepping fresh leaves.
Exactly. It's just their preferred method.
Right. It provides that plant-based nutrition without artificial fillers. But crucially, it does it in a format that takes 3 seconds to consume.
Yeah.
The underlying lesson here isn't just about this one product. It's about the reality that for a new habit to survive contact with your real life, especially before 8:00 a.m., convenience is an absolute requirement.
It really is the defining variable for long-term success. The author recognized a biological need for the dense nutrition of the moringa plant to support their cellular energy, but they also recognized the psychological need for simplicity.
Yeah, you have to be realistic.
Exactly. It doesn't replace a healthy meal, but it acts as an incredibly reliable, friction-free safety net.
So let's actually put this into practice. Knowing the mechanics of cellular energy is great, but how does the author actually integrate this into a morning that used to be defined by panic and caffeine?
They outline a very specific routine.
Right. They outline this protocol called the 3-minute stack, and I really want to walk through it step by step because it kind of redefines the whole structure of the morning.
The genius of the protocol is in its brevity. I mean, it transitions the morning from a frantic grab for artificial stimulation into a really deliberate, biologically grounded routine.
Okay, let's start with minute 1. You wake up, and before anything else, you drink a large glass of water.
And there is a vital physiological reason for this. You have just gone 7 or 8 hours without fluids. Your body is in a state of mild dehydration.
Makes sense.
When you are dehydrated, your blood volume actually decreases, meaning your heart has to work harder to pump oxygen to your brain. That lack of oxygen directly translates to that feeling of grogginess. Rehydrating immediately increases that blood volume and jumpstarts your circulatory system.
All right, so that's minute 1. Minute 2. This is when you take the moringa supplement alongside whatever you are eating for breakfast. Boom! The nutrient payload is delivered to the cellular assembly line with 0 prep time.
Yes. You are handing those highly bioavailable tools, the magnesium, the iron, the antioxidants, directly to your mitochondria right as your metabolism is waking up for the day.
Okay, and then we get to minute 3. You spend exactly 60 seconds moving. The text suggests a quick stretch, maybe stepping outside for a short walk or some light mobility work.
Just something to get the blood flowing.
Right. But as someone who works out, 60 seconds of stretching sounds completely useless for fitness. Like, what is the actual point of just 1 minute?
Well, it isn't about burning calories or building muscle at all. It is a neurological trigger.
Oh, okay.
When you move your body, especially if you step outside into natural light, two really important things happen. First, the natural sunlight hits your optic nerve, which sends a hard signal to your circadian clock to definitively shut down melatonin production.
Melatonin being the sleep hormone.
Exactly. Second, the physical contraction of your muscles releases chemical messengers called myokines.
Myokines.
Right. These myokines travel to your brain and basically act as an alarm bell, signaling that the sleep cycle is over and the active phase of the day has begun.
Wow. So water to increase blood volume, nutrition to fuel the mitochondria, and movement to trigger the neurological awake signal. 3 minutes.
It's incredibly efficient.
It really is. But the author is also careful to point out that this stack doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? You can't just do this and then eat junk food the rest of the day and expect a miracle.
Absolutely not. The text emphasizes holistic lifestyle habits that work synergistically with this stack,
Like what?
like prioritizing protein at breakfast to stabilize blood sugar, preventing those mid-morning glucose crashes, staying hydrated consistently throughout the day, and of course, prioritizing quality sleep, which is the ultimate foundation.
Right, because you can't out-supplement bad sleep.
Exactly. If you are chronically sleep deprived, no amount of moringa, adaptogens, or perfect hydration is going to save you.
Which brings us to the question I know every single listener has been screaming at their device since we started talking.
The coffee question.
It's a coffee question. The author calls this the ritual that replaced their coffee. Do I really have to give up my morning coffee entirely to fix my energy?
The source material offers a very practical and honestly relieving answer to that. Not necessarily.
Oh, thank goodness.
I know, right? The goal presented in the text isn't puritanical elimination. The biological enemy here isn't a single cup of coffee. The enemy is dependence.
Ah, so it's about breaking the cycle of needing it just to reach baseline.
Exactly. The text notes that many people find they can still thoroughly enjoy their one morning cup of coffee. But because their cellular assembly line is finally getting the actual raw materials it needs from this nutrient stack, they no longer feel that desperate, clawing need for the 1.00 p.m. refill or the 3.30 p.m. energy drink.
That makes total sense.
It's a balanced approach to decreasing dependence, which is vastly more sustainable than trying to quit caffeine cold turkey and suffering through those brutal withdrawal headaches.
Oh, those are the worst.
They really are. Building sustainable organic vitality always comes from incrementally giving your body the resources it requires, rather than just searching for heavier and heavier chemical hammers to force it awake.
Right.
So if you feel trapped by that multi-cup dependence, or if you were just tired of losing your afternoons to brain fog, this 3-minute structural shift offers a highly logical, biologically sound alternative.
So what does this all actually mean for us? The most profound takeaway I'm getting from this deep dive isn't just about a specific plan or, a specific supplement. It's a fundamental mindset shift.
It really is.
We have been culturally conditioned to treat our mornings as a battle, like a daily war where we have to force our exhausted bodies into compliance using aggressive, weaponized stimulants. This source asks us to shift from a mindset of extraction to a mindset of nourishment.
I love that phrasing.
Right. Hydration, consistent bioavailable nutrition, and neurological signaling. It changes the entire tone of how you interact with your own biology.
It is the difference between constantly making withdrawals from an overdrawn account and finally starting to make steady compounding deposits. You're actually equipping your cells to do their job.
And I want to leave you with a final thought to explore on your own. We talked extensively about the caffeine credit card, how relying on stimulants is just borrowing alertness from your future self.
Yeah, that vicious cycle.
But let's flip that concept around. If we start viewing our morning energy not as something we can magically hack with a drink today, but rather as the direct, undeniable biological result of the nutrients and the rest we provided our bodies yesterday.
Well, that's a great point.
Right. How might that change the choices you make tonight? Because if tomorrow's energy is being built on the cellular level today, you might want to put the credit card away and start giving your body the building blocks it actually needs.